Alright, Jodah the Unifier, Part 2. You've probably already seen Part 1. If you haven't, go check it out. I'll at least get a summary. The quick version is basically just re-teching this deck for a friend. Sorry about the chainsaw noises. Neighbors deciding now is a great time to chainsaw whatever they're chainsawing. I don't know what's going on there. So I think we went over pretty well kind of what cards last video we were intending on taking out. Long story short, it was basically everything that had obvious easy upgrades for the deck is kind of what we were going for. Alright, well I got a little list here. Balmor is a 2-drop, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, or is it maybe just non-creature, your entire board gets +1/+0 and trample until the end of turn. So, yeah, the show must go on. I don't care how much you guys are chainsawing out there. Yeah, that would buff your entire board with Jodah and be like a win con on a 2-drop. Be the perfect thing to cascade into. And also, as far as 1-drops go, like the 1-drops you should want are stuff like Skrelv, can protect Jodah. Really good. And there's also Ragavan, Yoshimaru. There's probably a few others. As far as 4-drops go, you probably want stuff like Odric, or maybe it's Oderic, I don't remember how it's pronounced. But Odric basically gives your whole board every keyword that any of your stuff has. So one thing has Trample, they all have Trample. One thing has Death Touch, they all have Death Touch, and it's a legend. So that would be a nice 4 CMC. Also, I think some like Questing Beast, the 4/4 for 4 mana, that says damage can't be prevented. Would be pretty good, because this deck's going to be a little bit weak to like fog effects and stopping combat damage, because that's essentially how it wins, is mainly combat damage. So stuff like Questing Beast would get you a legend in there that could make your damage not be preventable for your big turn. So obviously I didn't include all those cards. A lot of those are kind of pricey and out of the range of maybe budget. It just depends. But I did find this stack of cards that I thought would be pretty decent and could be a pretty direct replacement for this chunk of cards, and it would probably make the deck a bit better. Naturally, just getting a few more basics in there, kind of evening that out, would be good. And just trying to get some legends that do combat stuff. Also, just to back up a little bit, I'll say, I was kind of torn on Niv Mizzet, whether it was good or not. And I think that this is just such a strong card that if you manage to resolve it, which you will resolve it, it can be countered. If you can cast it, is the real problem. It's a good card because it just takes over games. Niv Mizzet is what it is. It's a really strong card. Okay, but here are some things that I thought were pretty cool. Tori Davenant Fairy Rider. 1 colorless, 2 red, and a white for a 3/3 Vigilance Trample. When it attacks, it gives your whole board, well, all your red stuff Trample, all your stuff +1/+1, and it untaps all your white stuff. So it is going to give like most of your stuff Trample and pseudo Vigilance. Kind of a cool legend that I thought would be pretty cool. Oh yeah, another card I thought of, really expensive one. What kind of expensive? Rick, Steadfast Leader. There's a lot of humans in this deck, so he's another one that would give your whole board like first strike, lifelink, and that would be kind of insane. Or not your whole board, but all your humans. So even you could probably get away with playing stuff like Rick, Steadfast Leader, but he's kind of expensive. But this Jodah's a human and he's a wizard, so you can play off of that a little bit. But yeah, I think Tori is also pretty good. Sorry to go on a side rant. I just reminded myself of it by the 4 CMC. But I don't know, let's look at some other ones. I think Rishkar's Expertise would be pretty good. You tend to have a pretty high power on the board, and you still get to put something or cast a spell that's probably going to cascade after it too. So I think this is just a great way to refill your hand in this sort of deck, is a Rishkar's Expertise. Captain Ripley Vance kind of works as a bit of a removal. It is a legend, obviously, so cascades, and you can cascade into it. 3rd spell, gets +1/+1 counter, and deals damage to any target equal to its power. So as you're cascading, you're quite likely to get 3 spells on a turn, which is going to buff this, and do 4 damage and 5 damage, and etc. If you have Jodah out, this thing's going to be massive and going to do a huge chunk of damage on that 3rd spell. So I just think it's a really cool card that can kind of give you a non-combat advantage on a legend that can still potentially in the game. You could, if someone's got 20 life and this is a 20 power thing, boom, 20 damage to the face. It's any target. So I thought this was kind of a cool card. I just saw in my red that I thought would fit here decently. Also a human. Human, we don't really have a human thing going on here, but you could potentially go like human Jodah. Now my cat is meowing at me. Oh my goodness. Alright, Kazul's Cliffs. I think this is just a really cool card because you're going to have, at some points in the game, you're going to have giant creatures, you know, huge power. So to just be able to fling one is great. And hey, if it's not handy, you just play it as a land. It's a great card. Haunted Cloak. Vigilance, Trample, Haste is ideal on any huge creature, I think. This is a new one from Lord of the Rings. I think would be decent here. Great Hall of the Citadel. Adds mana for legends, basically. Decent fixing for common in this kind of deck. Lorien Reveal, this is a strong card. I just think it's good. The island cycling can get you a lot of those duels we talked about. Like you can island cycle for this. So you could essentially fix your mana with this island cycling. Or late game, you just draw some cards. This has proven to be a good card in general, I think. And we got Commander Sphere. It wasn't in here. I don't really play Commander Sphere a lot, but it's a decent fit here because it fixes your colors. Supreme Will. I basically just thought this was like a pretty direct upgrade to one of the other counters. And it can just filter you some cards if you need cards and not the counter. I don't know if it really belongs in the deck, but it's not a bad card. Soul's Fire, kind of like Kazul's Fury, except you don't have to sack the creature. Just big damage to any target. When Jodah's out, you're going to have a giant... Your board state is going to be really huge in power, so just being able to pop something like this off at instant speed can be a game winner. I'm trying to get some ways in here of like winning the game. So you've seen 3 big damage pop cards that can really kind of take someone by surprise and do a lot of damage. Stuff like that can change a game big time. Kedis, Simmercall, familiar. I thought this was a great 2-drop legend, and it's going to make your commander hit everybody if it hits. And also it's going to be big on its own, so I thought it was just a cool card that could fit here. Emoti, just to get more Cascade, there's a lot of 6 CMC and higher in here. Basically this, I don't know, I guess only like 6 spells. But this is also a legend that you could Cascade into. And it does a normal Cascade, not a legend Cascade, so I thought it'd be cool just to get even more Cascade going. The body on this thing's not great, but if Jodah's out, it's going to have a pretty big body, so it could do decent, I think, here. Another great 2-drop, Esior, Ward Wing Familiar. It's a 1/3 flying, 2 mana flying. When your opponents, or spells your opponents cast at target 1 or more commanders you control, cost 3 more to cast. It's basically going to give Jodah Ward 3, which he's probably going to need. From my experience of seeing people play a Jodah deck, Jodah is just highly targeted. You got to protect them somehow, or else you're going to get blown out. You're going to swing at somebody, they kill Jodah, your board shrinks, and then you lose half your army. I've seen it happen. It's kind of the weakness of this deck, so something like Esior helps mitigate that. And also, it's a flyer, and while Jodah's out, it's a really big flyer, so that can make a difference, especially for 2 mana, and you're going to cascade into it, hopefully. Generous Gift, I just thought this was better than one of the other removal spells that we saw, because it hits any permanent. Who cares about the 3/3? You got a giant board state. 3/3 is not going to do anything. Destroying any permanent, great versatility. You might as well throw it in there. Oilifant, this isn't a legend, obviously, but the mountain cycling here can get you any of these lands, anything with a mountain type. And just a great fixer for 1 mana. It's great fixing. We want fixing. We want to be able to cast spells. That's something that I think a lot of players kind of overlook. They might like try to make a really good deck. They don't necessarily think enough about the mana base. And the thing is, once you have really good spells and your deck's how you want, the biggest thing is you want to be able to cast your spells, which makes sense, right? A lot of times we're just going for consistency, and something like this is great for consistency. It's going to get you to cast the spells you have in your hand. So that stuff's really big. That's why, it's another reason this is so good. It's going to let you cast the spells in your hand. And it's the reason fetches are so good, you know? You get you the right mana, that's really important. Alright, Alana, Kessig Trapper. I thought this was interesting. Well, it's 5 mana, 4/3, first strike. Not super great body, but it's okay. But this red, add an amount of tap, add an amount of red equal to the greatest power among creatures you control that enter the battlefield this turn. So when you're cascading and doing your shenanigans, and Jodah's out, you're going to have a new creature on the board, probably every turn, that has a lot of power. So this will probably tap for upwards of 10, 15 mana a lot of times, which is pretty huge. So that's the big reason this one is in here. This would enable you to cast the Myojin pretty easily. If you had that sitting in your hand, you could probably tap her for at least 5 or so, not more in most turns. And it would help you get the 3 red on this Niv Mizzet. Stuff like that. I think, you know, it's not like perfect niche card or anything here, but I think it has a place where it could be decent. Atali's a no-brainer. Atali's amazing. I just thought I'd throw it in here because it wasn't in here. It's a big legend. It's great for versatility. Why not? The Myogens are going to cascade into it probably, which would be amazing. Rograk, just a 0-drop. You know, doesn't look too intimidating, but with Jodah buffing this guy, you know, he might be like a 10-1 first strike menace trample, which is something. All right, another little side theme I thought of putting in here. These kind of spells. Act of Treason, normally kind of a meh spell, but hear me out. You steal someone's commander with this, your board grows, their commander grows to a huge size, and if it's like a good combat commander, you could get a little side theme of Jodah, but I steal your stuff and swing at you with it. That's all I was kind of thinking here. A viable strat, but it just sounded kind of fun. So I added a few more of these. Insurrection, spreading insurrection. This one's got storm, so if you cast a legend and it cascades, and you could potentially get like 4 creatures. This is potentially a game-ending spell here. You could potentially end the game with a surprise on these, and that's kind of the idea here. We wanted some game, and I was trying to look for stuff that could actually end the game and not just peter out. Shackles of Treachery, basically the same thing. Kills an equipment that's attached to it. That doesn't really matter a whole lot, but stuff like that could be pretty good. You know, I've kind of shown 4, 5, 6 even spells that could kind of surprise in the game with it being a big fling or, you know, stuff like that. Grey Havens, ETB Scry 1, add mana among legendary creatures, a color among legendary creatures in your graveyard. I don't know if this is great. It is a legend. I don't know if that matters here. Interesting card. I thought it maybe might have a place here. Oh, we just had a power outage. Okay, it's these tree cutters. They're like doing something with the power line or something. All right, I guess I'm continuing on without power. My phone is, I'm recording with here, it's got some power. And we got some natural light, so I think we can manage. All right, I'll continue on. We just got a few more. Path of Ancestry, just kind of obviously belongs in the deck. Sorry about the lighting, it is what it is. It's the same card. Captain Lannery Storm, another 3 mana legend. Haste 2/2 for 3. When it attacks, create a treasure. Sack a treasure, gets +1/+0. I don't think this necessarily belongs. I feel like Ripley Vance is better. Lannery Storm's okay though. Just trying to find some more combat guys. But you know, you could cast this, cascade into a 2-drop, swing with it as like a 10/10 or whatever Jodah's buffing it to. So I thought Haste would be pretty good here. What else? I got Krenko. I don't think Krenko's as good as I really thought, but thought was, maybe it is pretty good. When it attacks, create a number of goblins equal to its power, and this thing is going to have a huge amount of power with Jodah on the field. So it's going to create like, I don't know, say 10 goblins per attack, which is not bad. So something like this could be really cool. What do we got? A Rupture Spire. These lands are notably usually pretty bad. Comes in tapped, and you got to pay 1 or sack it, so it kind of comes in like super duper tapped. But at least you do get that 1 mana of any color once it's out there. If you're desperate for 5 color lands, you might not have a whole lot of options, and this might be your turn 2 if you don't have another turn 2. So I don't know. I don't think this is a good card, but it's in budget, and things like Mana Confluence and City of Brass would be way better, obviously. But that could at least help get you whatever color you need. I think I put this in place of some other removal. It's destroy artifact, enchantment, or exile something from a yard, which is just kind of directly better than some other removal spell. I don't know if it doesn't really fit with Jodah necessarily, but it's a decent interaction. Let's see, we got Terramorphic Expanse to find a basic. That's kind of self-explanatory. We got to get the colors we need. Broken Wings. I also put this in place of one of the removals, like one of the just because there was a destroy artifact and a destroy enchantment. Those were very narrow, so I just put in some more wide cards. This can hit a flyer, artifact, or enchantment at instant speed. Not exactly a hot card. I don't really see many people play it, but I kind of like this card. I've always had decent luck playing this card, we'll say. I often find a good use for it. But it's no Beast Within, though. Beast Within would be directly better. Another kind of cool card, Hamza, Guardian of Rashin. 6 mana, 5/5, but it costs 1 less for each creature with +1/+1 counter. There's not a big +1/+1 counter strategy in this deck. There's a little bit here and there, and he's going to reduce the cost of your creature spells once he's out. At least a little. Yeah, I would probably remove it for something better when you find something better. But just reducing the cost of your legends that cascade could be pretty huge in some ways. Oh, and by the way, we're leaving in Spark Double. It's good. 2 Jodahs is insane. Grux Uprising just gets you basically trample, which is super good. You need trample in this deck. This deck requires something to give your board trample. That's where Balmor would be so good, and this would be really good too. And it would also draw you quite a few cards, so I think it's a decent card to add. Entish Restoration basically gets you 3 lands. 2 or 3 lands, but you got to sack one. So it could do some fixing, and you know, we got 10 basics in here, so it should be alright. Just another way to kind of ramp and get the lands you need. I thought this would just be a better counter than one of the other counters in the deck. It's basically, well, it's a 3 mana counter spell, but it costs a blue less if your opponent has cast 2 or more spells. So they're doing a bunch of the stuff on their turn. This is going to be the same cost as negate, but it can counter any spell rather than just non-creature. So decent counter spell, I think. I kind of like this card. Not as good as just the OG counter spell. Well, I don't know. In some ways it's better because it's only 1 blue pip if they're popping off, you know. Disdainful Stroke. This is basically to stop a board wipe. Most board wipes cost 4 or more. Jodah is kind of prone to being board wiped. That's what people want to do every time you get Jodah out. And a few legends is board wipe, because they're going to die if they don't. So stuff like Disdainful Stroke, let's shut that down. Temple of Mystery. Might as well. I like these that have blue or green in them sometimes. And just having 1 or 2 in the deck isn't too bad. Getting that scry early game can be big. And I got all these thriving moors and thriving islands. They're not great, to be honest, but you do get to pick a color. You know, they have a primary color, and then you get to pick the other colors. So it is a dual land of your choice as it comes out, which was better than one of the others I took out that only had a single type. So I just kind of put these in as like direct upgrades to some of the other tapped lands, because you get to choose the other color. The pain of these lands is you have to remember the other color you chose, either by putting a counter on this thing or something like that. So that's, I personally don't play these because that's such a pain to do in a commander game, especially when your board state gets big and confusing. You gotta like start marking these colors, and it's like, you know, terrible design in my opinion. I mean, good design, but bad playability. I don't know. Evolving Wilds, why not? Desperate times call for desperate measures. And we got Demolition Field. I just kind of noticed that this deck had no way to destroy any lands ever, and then that can be a problem. Usually you want at least 1 or 2 ways to hit permanents of any sort, but now we have Generous Gifts, so that's good. And Demolition Field, it does destroy a non-basic. Lands controller gets to search 1, you get to search for 1. So this does kind of work as fixing, whereas you pop someone's land, they get a basic. They're not going to be too mad probably, but they might if you kill like a Nykthos or something. So probably try to hit a Nykthos or something, some big land. But also then you get the land you need to start casting your spells. So that's what I got as far as revising. I think making these swap outs, it would play a little more consistently and be a little better at winning games. But obviously all the cards I mentioned earlier that I'm not putting in here. Yoshimaru, the little 2/1 that gets bigger when a legend ETBs, I think. Balmor, the one that gives +1/+0 and trample to your entire board. Ragavan, Audric, Skrelv, Defector Might, Questing Beast. And there's probably a ton more. You guys can leave comments if you think of any more great Jodah cards that definitely belong in Jodah the Unifier. But that's what I got for you right now. I'm going to make these swap outs and maybe we'll goldfish a game or 2 and see how it goes. Okay, I was short a few cards and we're already up to 40 lands, so plenty of lands. Not all entire lands, some of like search. Decent amount of ramp, plenty of lands. We should be able to cast these expensive spells. I got some more things in here that I kind of dug through my box and found I thought were pretty good maybe. Wrath seems pretty good here. Instant speed. Dudes. Morite seems alright. I don't know, might not be as good as I thought, but it does cascade and you can like copy a land or something and then get a cascade off it. That was pretty interesting. Might be something to try out. Golden Ratio. This should draw you a decent amount of cards, but the problem is you gotta have a big board state, and at that point you probably, well, I don't know. I thought it might be a good spot here because you're probably gonna have a lot of different powers on the board. So we got like 10 cards. We gotta make some choices. Some of them just seemed obvious. Like we probably want Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. I've got a bunch of these, so I'm just gonna toss one in the deck. Basically returns your whole graveyard to the field, which is, you know, game ender. Garna also does the same basically, and they have haste, so another thing. Kiora seemed pretty strong here. Tree Cutters are back at it. Interesting things going on out there, but it is what it is. Alright, Kiora seems pretty good. You can cascade to it. It cascades. It's a legend. Untapping permanent's pretty good. And drawing cards is good. So, seems to be a fit. This card kind of seems a natural fit in this deck too. Gives all your legends another +2/+2, and it has Death Touch, Lifelink. So could be a pretty big swing playing this guy. I like this card because, well, Cabaret Charm has the option of giving your board +1/+1 and trample, which could be a game-ending spell in this sort of deck. A lot of times you just need trample to really get through. So, and there's more that I thought might be decent here, but I'm actually out of slots now. Like Lagrella could be okay to exile some of your opponent's stuff and yours if you want. Kalane is kind of a rampy legend. He's not too bad. And fires via Mega, gives your whole board haste. Not bad. Angar, the Freezing Flame, he makes your giants and wizards that do excess damage draw you a card. Now, basically what this means is when Jodah gets chump blocked, you draw a card. I don't know if it's that good, but Fajar could be pretty good. Pretty easy to trigger this in the deck with all the cascading just to get an extra card, and you get flying lifelink creature. Could be pretty good, but it's up in the air what's best here. Just a lot of options. Vega's clearly really good. Draws you cards when you cascade, basically. Savala just seems okay. I don't know. I don't think I'd play that, honestly. It's okay, though. And Zamone gets you a little value, another 2-mana legend. Mr. Orfeo, it's going to double the power of something swinging. This could be insane in this deck. Could be swinging for like the 40/40 creature, or 40 whatever. So yeah, just a lot of options there. I'm going to put some of those in the deck, and we'll see. So I think what we're going with is we're just going to play the cheapest CMC ones here. Zamone, Vega, Kalane. The Glorious Rebirth is not cheap, but it's obvious. I feel like you got to play this card. It's good. Cursed Guy, Wrath. And I don't know. We got 2 more slots. We could just pick the lowest CMC and play these 2. Or we could go for like game-ending potential, but slightly higher CMC and play like these 2 guys, Mr. Orfeo and Garna. Or if you want more flyers, we could go with Fajar. Or we could just do a little mix of both and play like these 2. Oh, there's also Fires and Angar to consider. So I think I'm going to play these 2. And I don't know, we'll see how the deck plays. Alright, we're going to give it a good shuffle. We're going to goldfish a game or 2 and just kind of hypothesize how this might play out. Would you like to cut? No? Would you like to hit the like button? How about subscribe? Alright, so let's draw a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we've got 2 lands and an Ornithopter. And the Ivy, which not a great help here. So, I don't know. Turn 1. Expanse. Get a forest. We go to turn 2 and untaps. Play Plains, Ornithopter. Okay, decent, fine. Turn 3. Ooh, no wastes. We could play Kodama's Reach, or Antish Restoration, or Ivy. I think the play here is to go for the Kodama's Reach, secure next turn's land drop, and get the color we need. We need red or black. So we'll just get red and black here. Okay, we'll say the swamp goes into play, mountain to hand. Alright, move to turn 4. Turn 4, looking good. Put the shackles for later. So this is, not a bad start here. And there we got Wooburg. We'll tap Wooburg. Cast Jodah. We don't really have any backup for him here, so it might be smart to wait a turn, but it's just, once he's out, your spells get so much better. Okay, we'll go to turn 5 here. Draw, and now we got options. We can play, well, we know these 2 drops are going to cascade into, there's only one thing, I think, Rogue Rock. So all these 2 drops will cascade into that. So if we want Rogue Rock, that's cool. But I think, it depends on the board state. If we need a good flyer blocker, we play Rith. If we want more value, we play Garth. I'd say we just play Garth. Okay, so Cascade, Legend Cascade for 5. Reveal Wastes. Insurrection. Commander Sphere. Uprising. Vega. Resolve Vega. So we're looking like we're in a pretty good position. So from here on out, we get to tap and make Black Lotuses and stuff, and we draw when we cascade. And as long as we can save the mana, we can sit on a Disdainful Stroke to prevent board wipes. But we're in a pretty good position here. We've got interaction. I'm missing land drops at this point, so I'd like to draw cards. I guess we do have this Intish Restoration, which I might as well cast at some point here. A little bit of interaction, a little bit of steal your opponent's stuff and swing. Like, we could even have lethal right here to someone, because, for example, say your opponent's got like a 5/5. You shackles it, right? And swing with all their stuff while removing their blocker. And you're hitting for like 30 there. I don't know, this deck is just inherently very strong no matter what you do, but I think with upgrades it's going to be OP. But I kind of like the Goldfishing there. Seems pretty strong for a casual type deck. Seems pretty fun. So we'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you think. Leave comments down below. See you guys next time. Peace.